Steve Ripley gave Kevin McReynolds the heave-ho yesterday. It proved to be a blessing in disguise for the Mets. Big Mac's replacement, the versatile Pat Tabler, came to bat with the bases loaded and delivered this key two-run single. Now, for his career, that's 40 hits and 80 at-bats with 3 men on. Remarkable. Frank Viola was sweet indeed yesterday. The winning pitcher beating the Phillies 4-2, his 19th win of the year. That, combined with the Expos' 4-3 win over Pittsburgh, moved the Mets to within a half game of first place. It'll be David Cone and Jose De Jesus next on Universal 9. From Shea Stadium in New York, today the Mets take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Mets Baseball 90 is brought to you by Bud Dry, smooth taste, no aftertaste. By Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power. By Nissan, building cars for people who want more than just a means of getting from here to there. Nissan, built for the human race. By the New York Daily News, New York's hometown paper. By Nobody Beats the Wiz Home Entertainment Centers. For anything in home electronics, music, and movies, nobody beats the Wiz. By Express Mail, next day service from the post office. And by AT&T, the right choice. Pitching for the Phillies this afternoon, a tough assignment for the Mets. He's 2-0 against New York this year, 5-7 against the rest of the league. 3.53 earned run average, and for the Mets, David Cone, a 12-8 record, a 3.44 earned run average.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Rob.
Cubs at Wrigley Field. Well, the Montreal Expos would be 3 games back. It's a long shot, but still a shot. I mean, the Montreal Expos still in it.
As long as you can play the team you have to beat, you're in pretty good shape, and that's a tough thing that the Dodgers have to face. They are through with Cincinnati for the year.
And they've got to leave it up to the rest of the league. The Montreal Expos, on the other hand, play the Mets 6 more times while they're finished with Pittsburgh.
And the Mets with a tough job here today. They got De Jesus to beat. He has pitched 2 complete games against them, a 2-hitter one time and a shutout.
The Mets with only 1 run scored in 18 innings against De Jesus. We'll see how they face him today.
And that'll be right after this message from Bud Dry. Well, a good crowd here on hand for the final meeting between the Phillies and the New York Mets. Mets come into this game with a record of 10 wins and 17 games played, and on the mound for the Mets, David Cone with a record of 12-8, an earned run average of 3.44, 55 walks, 201 strikeouts, second in the National League, 158 hits and 183 in the 3rd innings.
The lineup for the Phillies: Lynn Dykstra, who is now tied with Willie McGee for the National League batting championship. Rod Booker, the shortstop, batting second. Von Hayes in left, hitting third. Dale Murphy has 3 home runs in his last 3 ball games. He'll bat 4th. John Kruk at first, hitting 5th. Darren Dalton behind the plate will bat 6th. And Dave Hollins will play third base this afternoon, his 14th start at third this year. Mickey Morandini, the rookie, at second base, batting 8th. And Jose De Jesus, also a rookie, the pitcher, batting 9th.
And the defense for the Mets, it'll be Magadan at first, her at second, Johnson at short, Jeffries at third, McReynolds back in action, thrown out of the game yesterday for the first time in his major league career. Boston in center field, Strawberry and right, the catcher Mackey Sasser back in, having some duty here today as the Mets take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The umpires for the game: Gary Darling behind home plate, Bruce Fleming at first base, Frank Pulley at second, and Steve Ripley at third. And Lenny Dykstra, who is timed for the league lead, to lead it off for Philadelphia. There is Pat Tabler, the man who had the bases loaded base hit that set it up for the Mets to win yesterday. Now hitting .500 with the bases loaded in his major league career, with 93 runs batted in, 97 runs batted in. And the first pitch to Dykstra, fouled off at strike 1. Dykstra has 7 home runs, 52 runs batted in. In this series, he's 3 for 6 with 3 walks. He leads the league in on-base percentage. And against the Mets this year, he's hitting .379 with 1 home run, and that was inside the park. And the curveball bounced toward first. Magadan will take it, and he'll go to the bag for the play.
National League batting leaders, Willie McGee, just ahead of Lenny Dykstra. Of course, with that out, Dykstra dropped somewhat. And Dave Magadan 10 points behind at .325.
And coming up now for Philadelphia, the shortstop, Rod Booker, hitting at .243, no home runs and 10 runs batted in. And the first pitch, a called strike. Booker, in his last 7 game starts, hitting .364. Utility ball player, plays several positions. Cohen's next delivery is a called strike and strike 2. Cohen is working on his 4th day. 3rd time he has done it this year. He's pitched well the 2 other times that he has worked in rotation on the 4th day. That ball was foul tip, so the count stays at strike 2. He was a winning pitcher with a complete game, winning 9-2. And a losing pitch in the game, he lost 1-0 to the St. Louis Cardinals on a home run by Willie McGee. And the pitch fouled away.
Doc Gooden, he'll be the pitcher on Tuesday night to open against the Expos. I don't know about, from a medical standpoint, how many days it takes for the arm to bounce back.
And strike 3 calls, so Cohen picks up his first strikeout.
But it's only a recent phenomena when pitchers have required 4 days between starts. It used to be every starter, you'd have a 4-man staff. Each guy would get around 40 starts a year. But now, starting pitchers, if they get 35 starts a year, it's unusual.
A lot of the motivation for pitching every 4th day has been taken away, as you don't have to win 20 ball games to come up with a big salary. And the first pitch to Von Hayes, a fastball for strike 1.
You would think, though, that with the importance of middle relief now and less importance on complete games, that pitchers would be more inclined to pitch with only 3 days rest as opposed to less inclined.
Seldom have a complete game today.
Right.
Going 7 innings required about the norm, and there's a pitch for a ball. It's 1-1. Mets bullpen out there enjoying the afternoon at this point. It's early in the game. Later on, it gets to be pressure time. And the pitch, a ball, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike.
Today in Montreal, Randy Tomlin. I guess he got married yesterday,
right? He did, yeah.
Scott Anderson from Montreal, his first major league start.
Montreal starting 3 rookie pitchers against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they have won the first 2 games of the series.
Isn't that something?
Their pitching staff really decimated.
Especially with Martinez out now. They lost 3 over the winter. Buck Rogers and his crew have done a remarkable job all season long.
2-2 the count to Von Hayes, and the fastball just inside.
Expos now have 14 rookies on their roster. 14.
And they're still in the race.
And they'll be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights.
Thursday afternoon.
Thursday afternoon, right. Pardon me.
And that pitch is pulled foul, so the count stays at 3 balls and 2 strikes. The Mets then move on to Chicago after this homestand, their last big homestand of the year. Come back one more time. 3-2 the count. Von Hayes hitting .259 with 17 home runs, 70 runs batted in. And he goes after the split finger fastball and is struck out. So Cohen works a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. And we're underway. The score after 1/2 inning. It is Philadelphia nothing. The Mets coming up. And now here's a word from the New York Daily News. Well, Jose De Jesus on the mound for Philadelphia with a record of 5-7, an earned run average of 3.53, 59 walks, 71 strikeouts, 81 hits, and 104 2/3 innings. He's 2-0 lifetime against the Mets.
A different lineup for the Mets against the right-hander. Howard Johnson will lead it off. Tommy Herr, the second baseman, hitting second, and Dave Magadan batting third. It was the reverse yesterday. Magadan second, Herr third. Strawberry batting fourth. Kevin McReynolds back in there batting fifth. Second baseman Greg Jeffries moves into the sixth hole today. Darrell Boston in center field hitting seventh. Mackie Sasser, his first start in about a week, batting eighth, and David Cohn, the pitcher, batting ninth.
And the defense for Philadelphia: Kruk at first, Morandini is at second base, Booker at shortstop, Hollins at third, Bonhayes in left field, Dykstra in center, Murphy in right. And the catcher is Dalton as Howard Johnson steps into the batter's box. Howard 3 for 7 in the series. And on the mound, Jose De Jesus.
Last Wednesday, he lasted only 2/3 of an inning, only 41 pitches. First 6 Cubs got on, and the Cubs scored 6 runs in the first inning against De Jesus.
But he has really been tough on the Mets. He shut them out on a 2-hitter his first time that he faced the Mets, and has 2 complete game wins over the Mets. Howard Johnson hitting .244, 21 home runs, 84 runs batted in.
You got to give De Jesus a chance to get wild. He walked 4 in the first inning last Wednesday.
And Howard takes the pitch. It's called a strike, 1-1. Phillies lead the National League in walks given up by their pitchers with 578. They also lead in wild pitches with 61. And they're 10th in the ERA department. And the swing at the breaking ball, 1-2. Their team ERA is 4.19. Howard Johnson at home with 13 home runs. On the road, he has 8. The Mets at home have won 51 and lost 23, the best record in Major League Baseball. They have won 12 of their last 13 home games. This ball has popped up. Dalton couldn't find it, but it's out of the ballpark into the stands out of play. Mets have won 37 of their last 48 home games. On the road, they are 32 and 39. That has to change if the Mets are going to win. That's starting even in the loss column with the Pirates with 62 losses each. And they're a half game back with the Pirates winning 1 more than the Mets. Pirates have won 84. The Mets have won 83. The 1-2 pitch again, and it's high for a ball, 2-2.
For those of you wondering at home, Jose De Jesus does have a forehead. But you would never know it by the way he wears his cap.
You know, when he first went to Chicago to play a game against the Cubs, his friends took him to Comiskey Park.
No, that was last week, but before his start on Wednesday. That's
right.
Exactly right.
They drove him to Comiskey Park because they had taken him there previously when he was pitching for Kansas City last year.
They thought he was still with Kansas City. 4 cousins took him to Comiskey Park. He's supposed to start at Wrigley Field. They thought he was still with Kansas City. Reminds me of the Ozzie Virgil Call Your Sister story.
Call Your Sister. That was a great story when they called up here for Ozzie Virgil. He wasn't even with the club that was playing the Mets. That was his family's sister. So a walk to Johnson, and that's where you got a good shot at Jesus, because he is a pitcher who can walk batters. So the Mets have their first batter on with Tommy Herr coming up.
De Jesus, a delightful sense of humor. I asked him, he was stretching yesterday before the game, and I asked him if he put his cap on by standing on his head. I said, what do you do, weld that cap on? He said, I like to keep it down low so I can keep the ball low. He said, if I wear it high, I'd be pitching up all day. He said, but if I wear it low, I can't see the higher part of the strike zone. That's why he wears his cap that low.
You have to put blinders on.
Yeah.
For inside and outside. Put blinders on the side of that cap so he can throw it over the plate. 1 ball, no strikes.
He has been a horse for the Phillies against the Mets, I'll tell you that.
8 on August the 7th against the Mets.
Look at this guy.
He's got to be a low ball pitcher too.
Might be the biggest bill I've seen since the last time I took you to dinner.
That was a heavy one. I remember it well. Here's the 1-0 pitch. A runner going. The ball hit foul down the left side. So Howard Johnson in motion on the hit and run, but Tommy Herr fouled it off. Johnson leads the club in stolen bases with 29 out of 37 attempts. Mets are 9th in stolen bases. The total amount of stolen bases, they have 97. Looks like we got a lot of bills out here. Big tabs. Speaking of tabs, how about Tabler, huh?
Man,
that's an amazing record.
It really is.
40 hits in 80 chances with the bases loaded. 1-1 pitch is taken by Herr, and it's ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike. There he is, Pat Tabler. Delightful guy to interview. The first time I've ever really had him on TV, and he says he doesn't even think about it. He says he doesn't want to think about bases loaded situations. Just go up there and do his pattern. Just keep his overall approach to hitting the same.
Before coming to the Mets, he had been in a 1-for-14 slump with the bases loaded over the last 2 years.
That's why they got rid of him. Couldn't hit with the bases loaded. This year he was 0-for-3 with Kansas City, so they said he must be through. He's now 2-for-2 with the Mets with the bases loaded. His former teammate in a batting race, George, coming up with a battle with Ricky Henderson. George Brett, he's about 3 points behind Henderson. Henderson hitting .327. Butler 2 points back, and there's a base hit to right field by Herr. And on the hit and run play, Johnson goes to third. So the Mets has something going right off the top. Runners at first and third and no one out.
Wildness comes in many forms. You saw Johnson walk on 4 balls, and now DeJesus gets behind Tommy Herr, and an experienced hitter knows the fastball's coming, and he pops it to the right side, just out of reach of Mickey Morandini, the second baseman.
So runners at first and third, no one out, and Dave Magadan the batter. Dave, third in the National League in hitting with a .325 average, 10 points behind Dykstra. He has 5 home runs, 56 RBIs. 1-for-7 in this series. And he takes the first pitch a called strike. Magadan has hit more home runs off the Phillies than he has any other club in the majors. He's had 5 against Philadelphia, 2 of them this year. Pace of this game really starting out very slowly. One strike to count. And the pitch is a fastball that's high, 1-1.
I think there are 2 reasons that are responsible for longer games nowadays. Deeper counts by the pitchers, wildness, of course, that's the reason for the deeper counts, and the speed of the game. The speed slows it down because of all the throws to first base.
You know, they once played a minor league game in under 35 minutes, a full 9-inning game under 35 minutes in the minors. 51 minutes is the fastest game ever played in the majors. This isn't going to compete with that.
I would stick my neck out and say that there were a lot of first ball hitters in that game.
You make a brash statement like that, huh? So Darrell Knowles out to the mound to talk to his pitcher. Make that Nick Leyva out to the mound to talk to his pitcher. He's going out there personally. He's saying, you got to throw this ball and get it over the plate. Probably saying, throw strikes, Babe Ruth is dead.
If the other team hits you, then they've earned it. If you walk them, you're earning it for them.
So Nick Leyva back to the bench, and Magadan back to the batter's box. On deck batter for the Mets, Darryl Strawberry. Pittsburgh in Montreal. They're underway. No score after 1. Now the pitch to Magadan, a good fastball, and it's fouled back out of play. So it's 2-2. When DeJesus pitched his 9-0 complete game shutout over the Mets, giving the Mets 2 hits in that ball game, he walked only 2 while striking out 4, and he beat Frank Viola. In his other start against the Mets, also a complete game win, 4-1. He walked 3. That was against David Cone. 2-2 pitch, bounce to the shortstop. Should be an easy double play, but the Mets will get 1. The throw to first base completes the DP. And Johnson scores. No RBI for Magadan.
The Mets have now matched their run total against DeJesus in 1 inning that they had in 18 previous innings. It's only the 8th double play grounded into by Magadan on the year, and you would think a man who can't run and Davis does not have speed should think he would hit into more double plays.
Especially if a fellow hits the ball down on the ground most of the time, or line drives. Darryl Strawberry fouls off a fastball, strike 1. Darryl hitting .281, 34 home runs, 100 RBIs. And there's a call, strike for strike 2. Strawberry in this series 2 for 8. And he's hit 28 home runs against the Phillies in his major league career. 3 of them this year. And he takes that pitch for a ball. 1-2.
1-0 Pirates. Barry Bonds again scoring the run. So 1-0 Pirates with the Expos batting bottom of the 2nd.
And the strikeout ends the inning. The Mets get 1. On 1 hit, they leave none. The score at the end of 1 here at Shea Stadium. The Mets 1, the Phillies nothing. Now here's a word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Top of the 2nd inning, the Mets leading 1-0. And the run scoring for the Pirates scoring in a rather unusual way.
Barry Bonds was on second base. He tried to steal up in Montreal, tried to steal third, did steal third, and Mike Fitzgerald's throw was on time. The problem was Tim Wallach wasn't covering third base.
Hard to believe for a veteran third baseman like that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but the Pirates leading the Expos 1-0. By the way, they are still hitting in the top of the 2nd inning, so they're not through with that top of the 2nd yet.
And the veteran Dale Murphy will lead it off for the Phillies, and he takes a curveball for ball 1. Murphy in this series, a hot series, 4 for 7 with 2 home runs. Now hitting .246 on the year. 23 home runs, 77 RBIs, and ball 2. Murphy has hit in 8 straight games. 13 hits and 32 at bats, batting .406. And ball 3, so it's 3-0. Murphy will hit 3-0. You have to be careful with him when you have the count at 3 balls and no strikes. He's a hitter who will go after that pitch. A lot of hitters don't like it, which I've never understood. And he swings at the 3-0 pitch and pops it up. So he went after a bad ball, and that's bad discipline there as a hitter. Ball caught by Johnson, 1 away.
The reason it was a bad ball, there are such things as good strikes on which to swing and bad strikes on which to swing. With a count 3-0, you want that ball to be right in your... Will you quit it? I don't believe it.
Your favorite saying.
What if we don't want to have a nice day? But anyway, that pitch has got to be right in that zone, and that ball was on. It was a strike, but it was on the outside corner.
So now John Kruk, the batter, and he goes after a bad ball. Strike 1. Kruk hitting .281. 5 home runs, 55 RBIs. The animation of John Kruk. He and Lenny Dykstra are just about twins. And a fly ball out to fairly deep center field. Very deep center field. Boston won't catch up to it. It's off the wall. And Kruk on his way to third, and he'll have a stand-up triple.
John Kruk with tremendous power the other way and straight away hits this high fastball a ton. I mean, he just cranks it. Darrell Boston going back and back and back. It hits the bottom of the wall, and that carom rifles it back to shallow or to about moderately deep center field, and Kruk has his 6th triple of the year.
That puts the potential tying run at third base and brings up Darren Daulton. Daulton hitting .263 with 11 home runs, 51 RBIs. Daulton having a fine year. He leads all catchers in 2 base hits with 29. And a curveball pulled foul down into the right field area, and it's strike 1.
Funny how guys just see pitchers better. Daulton 2 for 7 against Cone. Both home runs.
1 for 8 in this series. And the curveball again, and it's blocked nicely by Sasser, and Kruk has to stay at third. Good play.
Really a fine play by Sasser. You know, the ball's coming in there with a lot of spin, and a catcher's job is to deaden the ball. How do you deaden it? You block it. You don't use your glove, you use your body, and that's what Mackey did. Nice play.
Go down to the knees, close the gap, and hope that you stop it, and it doesn't roll too far. So it's 1-1. Cone back again, and this ball hit deep to right, and it will be extra bases. Strawberry back, can't get to it. It's gone. Goodbye. 2-run home run by Darren Daulton. He now has 3 hits off Cone, and they've all been home runs. 3 for 8.
Well, you just got to tip your cap to some guys at times, and this is one of those times. I think Cone wanted to go out of the strike zone to Daulton, and he threw him the split finger. And Daulton just goes down to get it. Ball went out of here like a rocket.
And now the batter will be Dave Hollins, and he takes the first pitch, strike 1. Daulton now with his 12th home run. And the Phillies leading 2-1 as they bat in the second. And this ball pulled foul. And the pitch back to Hollins, taken high. A fastball, it's 1-2. Hit his first home run. It came as a pinch hitter off Pete Smith. Next day he was out of action with the chicken pox. So I guess it's contagious.
Home runs or the chicken pox?
Both are. You hope they are anyway if you're a hitter. First Philly did a home run as a pinch hitter, right-handed and left-handed. He's had a good year pinch hitting. He's had 3 home runs as a pinch hitter. They count 2-2 for David Cone. This ball fouled off to the third base side. The count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cone in his last 18 game starts 11-4, and there's a swing and a miss. So Cone picks up his 3rd strikeout. And 2 men away with Mickey Morandini coming up.
Dave Hollins has been a good pinch hitter for the Phillies this year. 3 pinch hit home runs. Couldn't catch up to that fastball, however.
Cone reaches around 95 miles an hour with his good fastball, and there's a swing and a miss, strike 1.
As far as home runs are concerned, before that Daulton home run, Cone had gone the longest stretch of innings this year without giving up a home run. He went 4 games without a home run being hit against him.
That was the 19th home run he's given up. 2 strikes the count on Morandini, who has yet to have a run batted in the major leagues, and he goes after the curve and is struck out. So The fourth strikeout ends the inning for David Cone. But he gives up 2 runs on 2 hits, a 2-run home run by Darren Dalton after a triple by Kruk, and the score at the end of 1.5 innings. The Phillies 2, the Mets 1. Now here's a word from Nissan. David Cone back in the dugout after giving up that 2-run home run. Hit by Darren Dalton. He is unhappy with himself. He shows more emotion than any pitcher on the Mets staff. And it's Kevin McReynolds at the plate, and he takes low for ball 1. McReynolds yesterday 0 for 1 and then ejected from the ball game after he was called out on strikes. Ejected by Steve Ripley, who is now the umpire at third. First time he's ever been kicked out of a game in his major league career. Count 2-0. And of course, the fate of the Mets in the hands of the man who replaced him, Pat Tabler, who was 2 for 2 with a big bases-loaded single that accounted for 2 runs and set up another. The Mets won 4-2 yesterday. McReynolds hitting .260 with 22 home runs. The fastball fouled back out of play, 2-2. Jose De Jesus 5-7 on the year, and 2 of those wins against the Mets. Fastball again, and it's fouled again. Now remains at 2-2. In the top of the third, it's Pittsburgh 1, Montreal 0. Pittsburgh picking up a run in the second inning. Fouled. Good location on that fastball. De Jesus was born in Brooklyn. Lives in Puerto Rico now. Originally signed by Kansas City in 1983. The 2-2 pitch again. This time he goes to a slider, and it's popped up in the shallow left. Rod Booker making the sign for the catch, and he makes the catch. McReynolds is out. That'll bring up Greg Jeffries. Jeffries hitting .284, 0 for 6 in this series. He's had 15 home runs and has driven in 67. Leads the league in 2 base hits with 38. A fastball for a ball. Jeffries having trouble against the Phillies, hitting .225 in his short career in the major leagues against them with 7 home runs. And a ball call, so it's 2-0.
That was a good shot right there. I think if you're facing a guy like De Jesus, as you see Jeffries' problems at the plate, you have to make him get the ball below your hands. You're not going to catch up to that fastball when it's high.
Missed again with that fastball. He's not pulling that cap down deep enough. He's been high all day today.
If he pulls his down, you got to pull yours down and make him get the ball down. See where his hands are? You got to make the fastball be below your hands. That, of course, the 3-0 pitch he was taking all the way. Throwing that hard, you're not going to catch up to that fastball when it's upstairs.
There's ball 4, so Jeffries works out a walk. Second walk issued by De Jesus, and it will bring up Darrell Boston.
The enticing thing, and the reason that hitters go after that pitch, is that's where your eyes are, and you see that ball so well. By the time you swing at it, it's got a little hop on it. This pitch, a very close pitch, but it was down, and when you're all over the place, you're not going to get a pitch like that.
Most important thing I learned as a hitter was not to swing at that pitch that looks so good to hit. You got to take it. And the pitch, a breaking ball for ball one.
Ron Fairley, a teammate of mine in Montreal, and a terrific major league hitter. Not a lot of ability, but a great thinker at the plate. Used to use that with guys who threw high fastballs. He'd make the pitcher throw the ball below his hands. If it wasn't, he'd take it.
Another ball, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. And that's, I've got to give De Jesus a chance to get wild. He has good stuff, but he has problems with his control.
Today in Montreal, bottom of the 3rd inning, the Pirates and the Expos, 1-0 Pittsburgh. Barry Bonds scoring on a throwing error. Actually, a throw by Mike Fitzgerald, the catcher. Nobody was covering 3rd base on the attempted steal, and Bonds walked home.
The 2-0 pitch, and Boston pops it up. Ball in foul territory, and it'll be out of play. So it's 2-1. Cool afternoon here at Shea as Darren Dalton comes back. Boston hitting .274 for the Mets with 9 home runs, 36 RBIs. Jeffrey's a runner at first. He's running, and the ball is swung on and fouled, and it goes right down on Boston's foot. He goes down for the count.
Well, that had to hurt. Darryl hammering this low fastball into the right ankle, as you could see. Those things rarely are serious, but they always hurt.
So Jeffrey's back to first base, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mets have won 5 of their last 6 games. Phillies have lost 5 of their last 6. And the pitch to Boston fouled, and the count remains at 2-2. The Mets under Buddy Harrelson with a record of 63-40, 23 games over 500. And since the All-Star break, the Mets have won 36 and lost 31. Two and two, a throw to first. Jeffrey's back. Greg with 10 stolen bases and 12 attempts. Goes again, and the ball grounded out to Kruk, who has no play at second, so he has to pick up the out at first, and on the out, the Mets have a runner in scoring position.
What do you do here? Do you walk Mackey Sasser and make David Cone score the run? Still early in the game. David Cone, a pretty good hitter, and Darren Dalton out to talk to De Jesus, probably about not giving Sasser anything good to hit. Mackey will swing at anything, though. Mackey the hacker.
Mackey has been red hot against the Phillies. This year he's hitting .406 against them with 2 home runs. And those 2 home runs coming in the same day.
Here's a guy who's hard to pitch around. Swings at anything.
That's right.
Can't pitch around him.
He had 2 home runs in the game for the first time against the Phillies on July 24th. It was off of Pat Combs and Roger McDowell. They were off of. And the first pitch is outside, ball 1.
Another thing, you don't want to put Sasser on intentionally, because De Jesus is not a guy who can throw a lot of strikes. He's liable to not only walk Sasser, but walk Cone too, and then he's really in trouble with Johnson up next.
And again, the pitch out of the strike zone, 2-0. Sasser had an idea about swinging and then held off. Cone's probably saying, they're not going to walk him because I'm the next batter and I got 11 hits. He is the only Mets pitcher to ever have a pinch hit, base hit. And the breaking ball, a slider pulled foul, so it's 2-1. Phillies started 2 left-handers in the first 2 ball games. They have a record of 24-28 against left-handed starters. 59-34 against right-handed starters. And there's a strike off the fastball. Not very much in the strike zone, according to Sasser. Gary Darling, the home plate umpire, calling strike 2, so it's 2-2 to Sasser. And the fastball way high, and it's 3-2.
You're guessing here, Ralph, and I know you would be like I would be. I'm looking for a slider.
Yeah.
Same pitch he threw 2-0.
He doesn't really care too much whether he walks Sasser or not with the pitcher coming up, and he's going to give him something. Sasser's a fastball hitter and has that reputation. I'd guess slider here too. He got a slider, and it's popped up. Ball out of play though, and it stays at 3 balls and 2 strikes.
DeJesus putting a little wrinkle in this pitch, and Sasser stays alive, fouling it back.
So 3-2. Mets trailing 2-1. They have a runner at second. We're in the bottom half of the second inning. 2 men out. And the pitch, and it's a slider and a swing and a miss. So Sasser, going after a bad pitch, is struck out. Second strikeout for DeJesus. In the inning, no runs, a walk, and 1 left at second. The score at the end of 2, Philadelphia 2, the Mets 1. Now here's a word from one of our sponsors. Well, going to the top of the third. The Phillies leading 2-1, and the leadoff batter will be Jose DeJesus for Philadelphia.
He was talking to pitching coach Darrell Knowles between innings. You know, the one thing that pitching coaches, in my opinion, don't want to do during a game is work on a pitcher's mechanics. I think you work on his mind. You talk about the mental approach to the game. If you get a pitcher, a young pitcher like DeJesus, thinking too much about his motion, his front shoulder, keep the arm on top, you just really confuse him. He's got too many things to think about.
And the first pitch by Cohn, a fastball, strike 1. It's like getting a golf lesson while you're playing 18 holes.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't really get to it.
You work on those things after a pitcher's performance and before it, not during.
And the fastball, strike 2. DeJesus has 2 hits and 30 at bats. And he chops this one out to Cohn's right as he comes off the mound, making a good play. The throw to first for the out. 1 away. That'll bring up Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra now second in the National League at hitting. 0 for 1 in this game. He started out at .335, tied with Willie McGee. Lenny Dykstra. McGee, of course, locked in at .335. That's what you have to beat if you're going to be the National League batting champion. McGee now with Oakland in the American League. And Oakland with a chance to have 2 batting champions on the same club. Ricky Henderson and Willie McGee. That's never happened before. And a pitch high for ball, a fastball.
See Mackey Sasser getting into that habit again of pounding that glove, and that talk about the mental approach. I think he could break it better by stepping toward the pitcher. He always throws it back flat-footed.
This one is popped up on the second base side. Tommy Hurd there. And Dykstra now 0 for 2. Dykstra back to the bench, and Rod Booker will be the batter. Booker was struck out his first time up. Got caught looking at a curveball. Pittsburgh did not score in the top of the third. Montreal now batting with the Pirates leading 1-0. And Booker fouls off the fastball. This ball looped to left field for a base hit, so Booker is on with 2 men away, and that'll bring up Von Hayes.
Rod with 3 stolen bases. Started his career in the Cardinal organization, so you know he knows how to steal a base. Not too many guys who come from that organization in the 80s who doesn't know a lot about base running.
Led the league in stolen bases 7 consecutive years in the 80s. Booker, a pretty good sized lead at first, and the first pitch to Von Hayes, a curve over, a called strike. Hayes struck out his first time up.
You saw Mackey right there from the squat pounding that glove and then throwing that little lollipop back. 2 stolen bases this year against Sasser when he was doing that, both by the Giants. Every time he does that, he does it from a flat-footed or a squat. And I think if he were to stand up and step toward the pitcher, he'd have less of a chance to do it. Kind of simulate throwing the ball to second base. One of Doc Edwards' projects this year. He hasn't broken him of it yet.
Ground ball foul. Strike 2 of the count. He's going to solve it right here by running the deck.
That'll solve it.
Take up a lot of time and you wear out a lot of grass, but you don't have the problem.
I think Booker will be off here. The count 0-2 to Hayes. You try to give your good hitters in the lineup, and Hayes is certainly a good hitter. You try to give him every advantage, and if Booker is thrown out, then Hayes leads off the next inning with a clean slate.
There it goes, the runner right on cue. The throw to second bounced, but it's in time. And the tag is made by Johnson on the bouncing throw, and that will end the inning. So no runs, 1 hit, no one left, and the score at the end of 2.5 innings. It's the Phillies 2 and the Mets 1. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover.
Really a good effort by Howard Johnson in staying with that throw that Mackey Sasser made and nailing Rod Booker at second. Watch how Johnson just stays with it and slaps the quick tag on Booker. Good play by Howard Johnson.
And it's the bottom half of the third with the Mets trailing 2-1 with David Cone to lead it off. Cone hitting 186, has 11 base hits. Jesus, the pitcher, with ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes.
Got to take here, don't you?
Got to make him pitch. That's trying to capitalize on the wildness of De Jesus. There's ball 3. Going to take 2 more times.
Absolutely.
On deck batter Howard Johnson. And he's taking all the way for a strike, 3-1. And there's the second strike, 3-2. I've seen pitchers given the take sign even with a 3-2 count. Preacher Roll was one of those. That's how bad he hit. This ball grounded to shortstop. And Cone is out. So De Jesus, coming back from a 3-0 count, picks up the first out here in the third, and that'll bring up Howard Johnson.
You know, something happened in yesterday's ball game. In the second inning, the Mets had runners at first and second with Darryl Strawberry at second base and Greg Jeffries at first. And this wild pitch by that Darren Dalton tried to save from going in the dugout. I made a comment that was wrong, and I want to tell you about it. Had Dalton caught that ball and then fallen into the dugout, had his momentum take him into the dugout, it still would have been only 1 base because the pitcher made the wild pitch from the pitching rubber. It's 1 from the pitching rubber and 2 off the pitching rubber. We checked with the umpires today. That's a variation of a rule, I thought, where the first baseman or third baseman make the catch in the dugout and then fall down, allowing the runner to take the 90 feet. But had Dalton made that catch and fallen into the dugout, it's still only one base for the runners. Want to clear that up.
One base off the rubber. And if you, when you're, I mean, on the rubber when you're pitching, and if you're off the rubber, you can get 2 bases.
Right.
And the 1-1 pitch to Johnson fouled off the fastball. That's 1-2. Johnson walked his first time up on a 3-2 pitch and scored the only run for the Mets. Back in the leadoff position in the batting order. This ball pulled foul down the right side. Count stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Giants fan with a San Francisco, an old San Francisco Giants. So he's football and baseball old-timey Giants fan right there.
Again, the 1-2 pitch, and it's a ball, so it's 2-2.
Had a New York Giants baseball hat and the New York Giants football jacket. So that guy's got all sports covered.
He dates back to 1957 when the Giants played here in New York in the Polo Grounds. 2-2, and Johnson pulls off. Did he stop his swing? He did. And once again, Howard Johnson with a 3-2 count.
The Dodgers scored twice in the first inning and lead Cincinnati 2-0 with the Reds batting in the bottom of the first. How about that?
Pressure is on. Reds have led. They've been in first place from day 1. And it's grounded foul, so the count stays at 3-2.
In our opening, we were talking about scenarios. You know, the what-if syndrome. What if the Reds lose the lead the last day of the season after staying in first place 161 days of the season?
Wow.
Or for 161 games. The Dodgers win. They're 3.5 behind Cincinnati.
Giants are playing in Houston. They're 6.5 out, and they have 4 games left with the Reds. That might be the answer for the Dodgers. Fly ball out to deep left center field, and moving over is Hayes. And he makes the catch. So Johnson flies out on the 3-2 pitch.
Now on our Nissan National League scoreboard, Montreal batting in the bottom of the first, 1-0 Pittsburgh, 1-0 the Cubs over St. Louis in the second. And there's the Dodgers score 2-0 with Cincinnati batting in the bottom of the first. San Diego over Atlanta 2-0, or make that 2-1, and San Francisco at Houston just underway, no score in the first.
Atlanta has been eliminated from the pennant race, in case you care. And so has Philadelphia, along with St. Louis. 1 strike to count. Tommy Herter on a hit and run play singled his first time up, and that is strike 2.
Mets with a chance for a big inning. Johnson walked her on a hit and run, singled. They had first and third, nobody out, and Magadan grounded into a double play.
With Johnson scoring from third. The only run for the Mets, the Phillies have 2, and a 2-run home run by Dalton. And strike 3. So the first 1-2-3 inning for De Jesus. And the score at the end of 3. The Phillies 2 and the Mets 1. Now here's a word from your Chevrolet dealers. This game is brought to you in part by New York Telephone, who reminds you that we're all connected. And by Mita. All we make are great copiers. And as we go to the top of the 4th, once again, here's Jim McCarver.
All right, Ralph Von Hayes leads it off. Hayes, a strikeout victim in the first inning. The Phillies did their scoring when John Kruk tripled with 1 out in the second, and Darren Daulton hit his 12th home run of the year and 3rd against Cone this year. as Hayes swings and misses. 0-1 to Von Hayes. 2-1. Phillies on top here in the fourth. Way inside and down. 1-1 to Hayes. Hayes in his 9th year with Philadelphia. Make it his 8th year. Traded in the winter of '82, but his first full season in '83. Breaking ball is high. 2 balls and a strike. It's a long time in this day and age of free agency.
Just signed a long-term contract last year.
Ball 3, 3-1. Vaughn engaged to be married this winter. On the outside corner, 3-2 to Hayes.
He'll be 32 at the end of this month, August. No, he is 32. His birthday was August 31st.
Splitter, grounded foul. I guess the married life is agreeing with Randy Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He has a shutout going, 1-0. 5th inning. He was married yesterday.
Honeymoon at the Big O in Montreal.
Yum. Fly ball center. 1 out.
Checking out the Nissan American League scoreboard. Detroit 2, the Yankees nothing. Bottom of the 3rd. Baltimore tonight against Toronto. Toronto back in it. They're 2 games back of the Red Sox. Red Sox just getting underway in Chicago. And Cleveland in Kansas City. Milwaukee later against Texas. Minnesota against Oakland. And Seattle against California. Oakland leading by 10 games over the White Sox now.
Toronto again scoring 3 runs in the 9th inning. A 3-run homer by Kelly Gruber last night.
2 days in a row
yesterday.
they've done that, yeah.
Man. 2 behind the Boston Red Sox as the splitter is low to Dale Murphy. Ball and no strikes. Way outside, 2 balls and no strikes. I guess a guy who is writhing in anxiety is one Jonathan Schwartz, world's greatest Red Sox fan. Another curveball is outside. 3-0.
Murphy with a 3-0 count his first time up, went after a bad pitch and popped it short.
There's a catcher in the making. Young man wearing his cap backwards. Son, take it from me. Get a stethoscope. Get into another business.
Straighten that.
Get a drill.
Out.
Yeah, get a drill. Become a dentist. So Murphy walks. Certainly a dearth of catchers in the major leagues now. That's why Darren Daulton, the Phillies catcher, is on deck now with John Kruk hitting. There will be an open market and a big market, I would think, for Darren Daulton this winter, his walk year.
Especially after the good season he's had.
It was his 2-run homer that put the Phillies on top in the 2nd inning. John Kruk had tripled, so Kruk 1 for 1 with a run scored. The splitter, swing and a miss, 0-1. Of course, the Red Sox, I think, get Clemens back when they meet the Yankees this weekend for the series. So look for Roger Clemens to possibly have 3 more starts before the season's over if his shoulder holds up. Foul tip, 0-2. It was Jonathan Schwartz's line, as a matter of fact, earlier in the year when talking about the Boston Red Sox pitching. He said, I would hope for Clemens and then 3 days of inclemency.
It's a good line.
No balls, 2 strikes to John Kruk. We're in the 4th, 1 out, 1 on, 2-1 Phillies. Nice play by Sasser on the breaking ball. 1 and 2 to Kruk.
You have to be alive with Cone pitching. He's had 6 wild pitches. He throws that curveball down in the dirt and also the split finger fastball. So you got your work cut out when he's on the mound.
Man of 1,000 faces. High, ball 2, 2 and 2. John from Kaiser, West Virginia. Murphy and Cohn have a little thing going. Dale even laughing about it. Breaking ball is high. 3 and 2 to Kruk. So look for Murphy to run. There's a guy who could run. Larry Boa, the third base coach for the Phillies. Cohn wants the splitter. There goes Murphy. Swinging a line drive to right center that finds a hole. Murphy's going to score. And Kruk again trying for third, and he's going to make it. The second consecutive triple for John Kruk. Murphy scores. It's 3-1 Philadelphia.
So once again, Kruk strikes. 3-2 pitch and a split finger fastball that doesn't move, and it's hit into the alley in right center field. Murphy able to score from first, and it's now 3-1.
Strawberry having a tough time getting a hold of that ball, and he gotten it a little quicker and gotten it more quickly to the infielders. I think Kruk stops at second, but the Mets forced to bring the infield in with Dalton batting, and he fouls it back 0-1. Pittsburgh failed to score in the top of the 5th. Montreal batting in the bottom of the 5th. It's 1-0 Pirates. 3-1 here at Shea. Ball 1, 1-1 to Dalton. All 3 hits, home runs. Man. Foul back. Ball and 2 strikes to Dalton, but it was 0-2 to Kruk. Kruk worked the count to 3-2. Cone shook off the fastball inside to John. Then he went with the split finger, and Kruk gets his second straight triple, and he's at third with a 1 out. Line drive over the head of Johnson. Base hit. Kruk scores, and it's now 4-1 Philadelphia.
Third run batted in by Darren Dalton, and he now has had 4 hits and 9 at-bats against Cone, and 3 of them have been home runs. A little trouble picking it up. Kruk scores, and the Mets now down by 3.
So it's been the Kruk and Dalton show so far. Dalton 3 RBIs, a home run and a single, and Kruk with 2 triples, an RBI and 2 runs scored. 0-1 to Dave Hollins, who struck out in the 2nd inning. This one hit deep down the right field line, and it's foul. runs in a bid to put this game out of reach. Just misses a home run, and Bobby Ojeda is up hurriedly for the Mets. Third time this year Cone has worked on 3 days rest, and if he loses the game, I know a lot will be made tomorrow about that, but his velocity's fine. It's his location that is faulty today. Holland's jammed, and it's Jeffries, waved off by Johnson, who makes the catch.
Those other 2 times he's worked on 3 days rest, he's pitched very, very well, so you really can't second guess that. And by this time of the year, it's not unusual for pitchers to go on every 3rd day occasionally.
That's right. Cool weather. Mickey Morandini now with 2 outs. And a little humpback liner into right field. It's going to drop. So Morandini has a Texas leaguer. That's the 6th Phillies hit. And that'll bring up Jose de Jesus.
Well, this is one of those things you can't help. The ball not hit hard, but it drops in. No chance for Strawberry to make the play.
The pitcher, number 54, Jose de Jesus.
That brings up the pitcher.
De Jesus chopped one back to Cone to lead off the 3rd. 4-1 Philadelphia. Strike 1 to De Jesus. The Expos in on Tuesday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon. It'll be Gooden against Dennis Oil Can Boyd on Tuesday evening. Sid Fernandez against Brian Barnes on Wednesday. Frank Viola against Chris Nabholz on Thursday. And this one off the chest protector of Mackey Sasser, 0-2 to De Jesus.
Nabholz is what, 6-0?
5-0.
5-0.
Got a no decision, I guess, in yesterday's game. And De Jesus down on strikes, but the Phillies strike for 2 more on 3 hits. They strand 2 and lead 4-1. Middle of the 4th. We're back after this from New York Telephone. Mets fans, this break in the action is a good time for you to break open an ice cold Budweiser and enjoy that clean, crisp taste. Yep, this Bud's for you. I guess you could open it. You don't have to break it open. You could just open it.
Top that comes
Yeah,
off.
I mean, I don't think pulling a pop top is like breaking it open. I mean, that's a little harsh, I think, don't you?
Sounds a little rough.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to drink it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the Mets are having a rough time with Jose de Jesus. They trail 4-1 here in the 4th. They are now, this being their 3rd game against de Jesus, they are 7 for 67 as a team against de Jesus. A 104 average. Slider for a strike. 0-2 to Magadan.
Not counting the Mets, his record would be 3-7 against the rest of the league. So you're not looking at a Doc Gooden or somebody that could dominate you off a record like that.
Weak grounder towards second. Morandini has no problems in throwing out Magadan. So 1 out here in the 4th inning. 6 in a row now retired by de Jesus, and since the single by her in the 1st inning, and that was deflected by Morandini, he has allowed only 1 base runner. That was Jeffries, a 1-out walk in the 2nd. Here's Strawberry.
The Mets have come from behind to win 34 games this year. They came from behind yesterday to win 4-2.
No balls, 1 strike to Darryl Strawberry.
Mets have averaged 4.8 runs per game.
To Darryl.
Strawberry, the first Met in their history to record 100 RBIs in the season 3 times.
back. DeJesus, as Strawberry has the count 0-2. DeJesus coming to the Phillies back in March for Steve Jeltz.
Pretty good acquisition.
How in the world can a guy who throws this hard be let go?
For a guy that can't hit it as hard as he can throw it.
Steve Jeltz, a struggling shortstop for the Phillies, and if you remember, David Cohn was traded from the Kansas City Royals. You would think the Royals would be wary after the Cohn deal. Sharply up the middle, base hit. So Strawberry with the second hit, and that'll bring up McReynolds with Darrell at first base and 1 out. Mets trailing 4-1. Foul back. Concerning the Jeltz and DeJesus trade, the super scout for the Chicago Cubs, Huey Alexander, used to be with the Phillies, had this to say. This is a quote. "I'd have picked up Steve Jeltz on my back, walked to Kansas City, and dropped him off at home plate to make that trade." Little looper to shortstop Rod Booker, and he makes the play. So McReynolds now has popped to shortstop twice. There are 2 outs, and Greg Jeffries coming up. The Fred Wilpon calorie card has just been handed to us again.
How can something so small have so many calories?
Make that a strike. 0-1 to Jeffries.
Now he's going to hand you a Diet Coke. Balance it off, huh?
1-1 to Jeffries. Line drive, speared by Mickey Morandini. The Mets threatened mildly here in the 4th. They failed to score and still trail 4-1 after 4. And we're back after this from O'Doul's.
Bob Ojeda, the new pitcher for the New York Mets. He has a record of 7-6, no saves. Earned run average of 3.77, walking 36, striking out 61, giving up 120 hits in 114 2/3 innings. And he'll be working to the top of the batting order.
David Cohn worked 4 innings, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs. He walked 1, striking out 5. The big blow, the 2-run homer by Darren Daulton. John Kruk with 2 consecutive triples. Daulton with a home run and a single and 3 RBIs. And it's Len Dykstra. If this were the middle of the season and not narrowing down to the end of the year, no way you take Cohn out of a game like this. But with the Mets stacking up their left-handers, Bud Harrelson has brought in Bobby Ojeda. And it's a strike to Dykstra. Well, the Phillies do. That's who.
6 left-handed batters in the starting lineup for the Phillies, not counting their pinch hitters. So
another strike. 0-2 to Lenny. Lenny 0 for 2 on the afternoon. He started the afternoon percentage points behind Willie McGee, who, as everyone knows, is now with Oakland. Montreal failed to score in the bottom of the 5th inning. It's still 1-0 Pittsburgh. That game in the top of the 6th. Grounded sharply to Magadan at first. 1 out. The Expos have exploded the last 2 nights. 3 runs in the 8th inning on Friday, 3 runs in the 7th inning yesterday to come from behind to beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they trailed today 1-0. The Mets 1/2 game behind the Buccos. And Rod Booker the batter. Ball 1. Hit sharply to right field. Strawberry back, and he makes the play. 2 outs here in the 5th inning. After today's game, the Mets will have 7 games left with Chicago, 6 games remaining with the Expos, and 3 games the last 3 days of the season, those lockout games, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of October against the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Sharply up the middle. Actually, I think Hayes broke his bat on that hit, but it's a hit nonetheless. The 7th for the Phillies this afternoon, and the 1st off Bobby Ojeda. So Hayes at first with 2 out, and that'll bring up Dale Murphy.
This ball in on the hands, and even though it's a broken bad base hit, they all count. They look the same in that box score.
Murphy, a very difficult out for Bobby Ojeda. I don't have the numbers right now, but in the Elias Sports Analyst earlier in the year, Dale Murphy was one tough cookie for Bobby Ojeda, and it was pointed out in the Analyst. And a balk is called by Bruce Fleming. Called on the step, it appears. And Ojeda had his left hand going back and forth, and Bruce Fleming said yes. So evidently that right leg went behind the left leg.
Checking it out. There's no doubt that it was there, and here comes Mel Stottlemyre out to talk to Ojeda.
Yeah, that makes things change a bit here in the 5th inning with 2 out. Hayes at second and Murphy the batter, and Buddy Harrelson and Mel Stottlemyre knowing how tough Murphy is for Ojeda.
That leg swings back of the left leg, and you got to come home when you do that and not go to first base. 3rd balk by Ojeda in the game. Look at the umpire. He calls it immediately.
Bruce Fleming, the first base umpire. So the balk sending Hayes to second, and now we'll see how Ojeda works to Murphy. Murphy will swing at a lot of bad balls, but not this time. They're going to walk him.
Murphy's had a hot series. He's 4 for 8 in the series with 2 home runs. First 2 home runs he's hit against the Mets this year while with the Phillies.
Looks like Julio Valera is warming up for the Mets. Or is it Ron Darling? Yep, it's Ron Darling who's warming for New York. So here in the 5th inning, Ojeda relieving Cone, and after 2 quick outs, a base hit and a balk, and now Murphy being walked intentionally, and the Expos have tied it in the 6th inning. Otis Nixon driving in Tim Raines, and Nixon's at 3rd base. So it's 1-1 in Montreal. Boy, those Expos just giving the Pirates fits. 12-5 on the season against them.
That's kept them in the race.
The Expos here Tuesday, Wednesday nights at 7:35, and then Thursday afternoon at 1:35, and then the Mets are off to Chicago and Montreal for 7 games. John Kruk with 2 triples on the afternoon takes ball 1. 1-2. 2 balls, no strikes to Kruk. Big disparity there. 73 points. Outside, ball 3. 3 balls and no strikes to Kruk. 2 on, 2 out. 4-1 Philadelphia. We're in the 5th inning. Hitting 3-0, Johnson to Tommy Herr. So Nick Leyba taking a chance. He allowed Kruk to hit 3-0, and Kruk grounds to Johnson as the Phillies strand 2 after 4.5. It is 4-1 Philadelphia, and we're back after this from R.C. Cola. We are in the bottom of the 5th inning. It's a 4-1 ball game. The Phillies on top. And the cheer that you hear in the background is the Montreal Expos have come up with another run and lead 2-1 in the bottom of the 6th. Tim Wallach, a sacrifice fly, driving in Otis Nixon, and here's Ralph to call it for you.
Okay, and Darryl Boston swings at a fastball and fouls it back for strike 1. Phillies 4 runs on 7 hits. The Mets 1 run on 2 as De Jesus works another strong game against the Mets. He's had 2 complete games against the Mets, allowing only 1 run in the 2 games. Boston an idea about bunting, takes for a ball, and it's 1-1. On deck batter for the Mets, Mackey Sasser. And then the pitcher's position due up. Ron Darling still throwing in the bullpen for the Mets. And a swing and a miss, and it's 1-2. Back on August the 7th, De Jesus pitched a 9-0 complete game 2-hitter against the Mets. Then on September 7th, a month later, he had a 4-1 complete game 4-hitter against the Mets. The 1-2 pitch is outside, 2-2. Chicago leading Boston 2-0. Boston's lead over Toronto just 2 games. Toronto plays later. And the fastball for ball 3, and it's a 3-2 count.
Mets trying to get the crowd back in the game. They had the crowd earlier, but the 4 runs by the Phillies in the 2nd and 4th took the crowd out of the game.
And a big crowd here again today, a near sellout. And it's ball 4. So Boston leads off the 5th with a walk. And the Mets hope they can get something going. 3rd walk issued by De Jesus. And it brings up Mackey Sasser, who was struck out his first time up. Sasser coming into this game hitting .406 against the Phillies with 2 home runs. He has a lifetime average against them of .389. He's been bothered by that ankle, and he hits the first pitch on the ground. It's backhanded by Kruk. They try for the double play and don't get it. As Kruk, making a fine stop, takes the force off at second by touching the bag at first. So the Mets have a runner in scoring position on a quick out.
Sasser doesn't hit it hard, but he hits it in a good spot for a hit. But a good play by John Kruk, and Kruk making sure of the 1 and the throw to second late. John has dropped his glove at first base.
So it's going to be Keith Hughes.
Guess he hurt his hand.
Keith Hughes from Philadelphia makes his home in Philadelphia, was born and raised there, and he is batting now against De Jesus as a pinch hitter for the pitcher, Bob Ojeda. And the first pitch is swung on and missed. Hughes has been used 1 time as a pinch hitter and is 0 for 1. De Jesus working to Hughes, who hit .309 at Tidewater with 10 home runs and 53 RBIs. He was second in the league in hitting, and the fastball is fouled back into the stands out of play. Jim Eppard of Syracuse led the International League in hitting at .310. Hughes just 1 point off. Two strikes to count. Hughes born in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, right on the outskirts of the city. And the pitch is high for a ball, 1-2. Hughes originally signed by the Phillies. Boy, he's got that head pulled down over his eyes. He must be a low ball hitter. 1-2 pitch, a low ball. It's strike 3 call. So Hughes struck out, caught looking at a fastball, and that'll bring up Howard Johnson.
Jesus coming inside, and that ball had a little tail on it, and that's what gets Hughes.
4 strikeout for De Jesus, and it will bring up Howard Johnson, who has walked and scored, and he has flied to left on a 3-2 pitch. Phillies leading 4-1. Mets batting here in the 5th with 2 men out. Howard, a home run in yesterday's ball game, batting right-handed. Then he takes the fastball and fouls it back. Howard Johnson with 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases for his 4th straight year. He's had trouble with the Phillies. Lifetime average of .219 with 8 home runs, 2 of them this year, and hitting .233 against the Phillies this year. And Philadelphia over the years not noted for a strong pitching staff. 1-strike pitch, the curveball in the dirt. It gets by Dalton, and Boston goes over to third on the wild pitch. 62nd wild pitch by Philadelphia this year.
Only 2 in the last 22 ball games, but this ball squirts right between the wickets there.
4th wild pitch for De Jesus.
Mets haven't even put heat on De Jesus in the 3 games that they faced him. They've only scored 2 runs.
1-1 the count to Howard Johnson. Howard with 21 home runs in the year and 84 RBIs. And the pitch is a fastball for ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike. Dodgers and Cincinnati tied up at 2 in that game in the top of the 3rd. Top of the 7th, the Expos leading the Pirates 2-1. And ball 3, so it's a 3-1 count to Howard Johnson. Tommy Herr on deck. Boston had walked, moved to second on an out, and was wild pitched to third. He's there with 2 men away, and the 3-1 pitch hit hard, but pulled foul. So it goes to 3-2 on Johnson.
No way you're going to get that pitch again. You're going to get a slider right here.
When you get good pitches to hit like that 3-1 pitch and you pull them foul, it really makes it difficult on you.
Well, even though if you're going to pull them foul, you want to pull them foul. You don't want to punch them foul. A little quick. Howard Johnson, that's one of Hojo's problems. He gets a good part on the bat on the ball often and pulls it foul. I don't think he's going to get anything but a slider here. See if Dalton puts down 3 fingers.
There it is. 3 fingers down, a slider coming, and he gets the slider and misses it. So the strikeout ends the inning. 5th strikeout for DeJesus, and the score at the end of 5. It's the Philadelphia Phillies 4, the New York Mets 1. Now here's a word from Nissan.
Ron Darling in the ballgame now, the 3rd Met pitcher in relief of Bobby Ojeda. Ojeda worked 1 inning, gave up no runs and 1 hit. So the numbers for Ojeda are for Ron Darling. 5-9 on the year. Been a tough year for Ronnie. Started off the year in the starting rotation. Darling relegated to the bullpen, and they have kind of flip-flopped back and forth.
And his first batter will be Darren Dalton, who has a home run, a 2-run home run in the 2nd, and a single for an RBI in the 4th. And Darling's first pitch, a fastball. Phillies about hit them at 7-2, and a fastball again, and this one fouled back into the stands. David Cohn, the starter, chased after 4 innings. And the split finger hit into left center field. Boston a long way to go, but he'll be there. And he hauls it in, so they finally get Dalton out. That took a good play by Boston.
See that young lady right there waving at us? She went 92.5 years without seeing a baseball game. And here she is, close to 93 years old, her first baseball game this afternoon. What a great story. One of about 50,000 on hand, or 45 or so.
And now the batter will be Dave Hollins, and his first pitch. Grounded foul, strike 1. Hollins 0 for 2 with a strikeout.
I wonder who was in first place at this time in 1888 when she was born, or 1898.
Probably Indianapolis or somebody like that.
Of the American Association.
Yeah,
well, that was right about the time of the Spanish-American War, right? 1898. Artie Friedman's trying to look it up. We'll try to have that information. Who was in first place when she was born in 1898? That's great. First ball game.
And a strike call for strike 2. 1-2 the count. Cincinnati Red Stockings were in first place in 1988 when she was born. That's only fitting because they started playing baseball in Cincinnati. It was back in what,
76,
yeah.
But 69 was actually the first year.
Ground ball hit slowly to Magadan, who tosses to Darling for the out. 2 men away.
So now the Cincinnati Reds are in first place, and they're tied with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I don't even think L.A. was a town in those days.
No, 1898.
That's one of the great things about baseball. The history of the game is so involved. The stats that you can measure to some degree of the players of the past for the players of the future, and that makes it a terrific game.
Oh, even the terminology. I mean, how many people refer to socks as stockings anymore?
That is true. One ball, 1 strike to count on Mickey Morandini, and he grounds this one foul. Mickey with a bloop base hit in the 4th.
Even women don't even wear stockings anymore. They're not referred to as stockings, are they? Are they?
You asking me?
Hose?
Hose, probably.
Hose?
There we are, Bobby Sox.
Robert Sox right there.
And And the split finger gets him, so Darling working a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout. And the score at the end of 5.5 innings, the Phillies 4, the Mets 1. And here's a word from the 9X Yellow Pages. Well, it'll be Tommy Hurd, the lead it off for the Mets. They're trailing by a score of 4-1. Bottom half of the 6th inning, Tommy 1 for 2 in the game. Got a base hit on a hit and run play after a walk to Howard Johnson in the 1st inning. Magadan grounded into a double play with Johnson scoring, and that has been the scoring for the Mets. And first pitch a called strike. Jose De Jesus on the mound with a record of 5-7, but 2-0 against the Mets with 2 complete games. He's had 3 complete games this year. He's had 1 shutout. That was against the Mets back on August the 7th, a 9-0 victory. The 1-strike pitch is fouled back, and it's strike 2. Top of the 7th, the Expos 2, the Pirates 1. Burke is now pitching. Pirates have had only 1 hit in the game.
Anderson starting that game, his first major league start. 3 rookies against the Pirates, and the Expos conceivably could sweep it. If they sweep and the Mets lose, now the Expos are only 5.5 back.
And there's a ball, so it's 1-2. Tommy Hurd, Dave Magadan, and Darryl Strawberry, the scheduled 3. That's going to be a hard job right there.
I would think so.
Going to get some help. He's going to have to work it over to the side.
Some wire cutters.
Chopped up the middle. Morandini with the play, and Hurd is an easy out. So 1 away, and Dave Magadan coming up. I'd like to remind you this copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, reproduction, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Sterling Doubleday Enterprises LP and Universal 9 WWOR TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is also prohibited. And Dave Magadan takes the breaking ball. Ball 1. Dave 0 for 2 is grounded out twice, once into a double play.
He's thinking the possibility of a bunt and looking down that Philly dugout, and Hal Lanier just moved Dave Hollins in, the 3rd baseman.
And the ball hit the left field. Vaughn Hayes, the left fielder, puts it away, and again an easy out. Mets have had just 2 hits, a hit and run base hit by Tommy Hurd and a single by Strawberry. And Darryl now batting for the 3rd time. He's 1 for 2 with a strikeout.
Strawberry is, every time he has hit today, it's been with nobody on, and that's what you want to do with him. Keep him from hurting you with the big bomb.
And a fastball for a ball. With 34 home runs, 100 runs batted in, and he hits a ground ball to the second base side. Morandini with it, and the Mets go in order. So after 6, it's the Phillies 4 and the Mets 1. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Top of the 7th inning, the Mets trailing 4-1, and coming in for the play-by-play, Tim McCarver.
All right, Ralph, Jose De Jesus, the pitcher, is the batter. He has a 4-run lead, and he takes strike 1. De Jesus trying to beat the Mets for the 3rd straight time. 2 of his 3 complete games this year have been against New York, and here he is leading off the 7th. Another fine performance by the young right-hander. It's 0-2. To De Jesus. Looked like he jammed his thumb right there. Cool afternoon. Fastball gets to Jesus. That's the 2nd strikeout for Darling. 1 out here in the 7th.
Well, after every game this season, points will be awarded to Met pitchers for the AT&T Long Distance Award. Here's how it works. For every inning pitch, you get a point. We'll also add in the fractions. If a pitcher is credited with a complete game, he gets a bonus point. At the end of the season, the man on top will win the AT&T Long Distance Award, and $10,000 going to his favorite charity. It's Viola on top with a total of 229 1/3 points.
The Philadelphia Phillies have beaten the Mets 4 of the last 5 times that they faced them. 2 out of 3 last weekend. But they won the last 2 against New York. Should say 3 of the last 4. They're looking to win 4 of their last 5. Dykstra 0 for 3. And here it is, up to date, the National League batting crown. Willie McGee, of course, with Oakland. Those vying are only 3. And now Dykstra is into an argument with Gary Darling before a pitch was even thrown. What's he arguing about? The weather? Here's a man who got into a fight with a catcher, Rick Dempsey, over a called strike in Los Angeles. Maybe he's mad because he's 0 for 3.
That could be it.
Can't blame Darling for that. Maybe Ron, but not Gary. 0-1 to Dykstra. Curve high, 1-1. Dykstra has not gotten a ball out of the infield. He's grounded to first twice and popped to second. High, ball 2. 2-1 to Len Dykstra. The Mets trailing 4-1. Rod Booker on deck. 1 out here in the 7th. Foul away, 2-2.
Dykstra is 3 for 9 in this series against the Mets. And that has dropped him off 2 points.
Tell you, the more and more you look at Lenny, the more he is shaping into his idol's batting stance. His idol was Rod Carew. When Carew played with the California Angels, Lenny from Orange County. Low, ball 3. Similar to Carew's stance with that slightly open. Of course, Carew had that bat laid flat. Could hit a little bit. 7 batting titles.
And a great bunter. One of the best bunters that has been around in years.
Grounder to second. So in 4 at-bats, Dykstra fails to get a ball out of the infield. There are 2 outs here in the 7th. And Rod Booker coming up.
Shortstop Rod Booker.
When a hitter makes an out, somebody's got to pay. Usually, you know who it is? The bat boy.
That's true.
When you're coming back to the dugout, you're mad. You're 0 for 4 on the afternoon, so you throw your helmet away, and the bat boy has to pick it up. So the bat boy pays for your 0 for. There's that young man. Some players throw that helmet out of reach where the bat boy has to go chase it. Some of them leave it around home plate to show the umpire up. They're called out on strikes. 1-1 to Rod Booker. 2 out here in the 7th.
Nobody said it was going to be easy.
Sharply up the middle, and Booker has his second hit. Hit number 8 for the Phillies. Booker with 2, Kruk with 2, Dalton with 2. Morandini and Von Hayes were the other 2. And here's Von Hayes. Pittsburgh failed to score in the top of the 7th. It's still 2-1. Montreal over the Pirates. That game in the bottom of the 7th inning. Tim Burke in for the Expos. Booker barely back then.
Pittsburgh's magic number is 17, so if the Mets lose here, even if Pittsburgh loses, that number drops to 60.
Yeah, but they're tied in the loss column.
You like that?
That's kind of, well, that's the biggest thing right now. That's with that extra game to play.
Pittsburgh 84-62, the Mets 83-62.
There goes Booker. Fastball line down the right field line. Strawberry will have to hurry, but it gets by Darrell, and Booker's going to score the 5th Philly run. 5-1 Philadelphia. So Von Hayes, with his 14th double of the year, puts the Phillies on top 5-1.
And because of the hit and run play, the double scores the runner from first, even though Darrell plays the ball cleanly off the fence. So Booker flying around the bases. He's waved in. And it's another big run for the Phillies.
RBI number 71 for Hayes, and Dale Murphy now up, and he lines one to left base hit. Hayes will try to score. The throw by McReynolds not in time. 6-1 Philadelphia. Ten hits now for the Phillies, and they lead 6-1.
Three straight hits with 2 men out, and the Phillies add on 2 more runs. And again, the middle relief has shown its ugly head. The Mets have not been able to get their middle relief pitchers to be consistently on the plus side. And Hayes scores easily as Jeffries cuts off the throw to keep the runner at first. Murphy with his 5th hit in this series.
Now it looks like Dan Schatzeder is up and throwing, as John Kruk is the batter. 2 for 3, 2 triples. Taps one against his foot. 0-1 to Kruk.
The animated John Kruk and the foul ball off that foot. He normally wears a pad on that foot.
Ground ball towards second, and Tommy Herr throws out John Kruk, but the Phillies scoring 2 big runs on 3 hits, and they lead 6-1, middle of the 7th, as it is shown on our GE line score. And we will return right after this message. The Mets trail 6-1 here at Shea Stadium. Up in Montreal, it's 2-1 Montreal over Pittsburgh, and the Pirates have just changed pitchers in the bottom of the 7th inning. Bob Kipper is now in there as Kevin McReynolds takes strike 1 from Jose de Jesus. The Mets with only 2 hits in this game. Slider lifted to center. Dykstra. 1 out.
And checking out the Nissan National League scoreboard, there's that Montreal score. 2-1 with Montreal batting in the 7th inning. Chicago over St. Louis 5-0 bottom half of the 5th. Dodgers and Cincinnati tied at 2, top of the 4th. San Diego leading Atlanta 9-1 in the 6th. And San Francisco won. Houston won bottom of the 4th.
Greg Jeffries now takes a fastball for a strike. Jeffries on the afternoon is 0 for 1. He did walk in the 2nd inning. DeJesus over the last 2 1/3 has retired 7 in a row. DeJesus pulls his hat down so tightly over his ears that he's wearing out the top of the bill. That little wear spot. There it is. Line down the right field line. Base hit for Jeffries. He'll try for 2 and make it. So Jeffries with the first extra base hit of the ball game against DeJesus. And I believe that's the first extra base hit of the year that the Mets have off DeJesus. We'll see.
Well, Jeffries leads the league in 2 base hits. This will be his 39th. And the Mets will have a runner in scoring position with 1 out, and Darrell Boston coming up. First hit for the Mets since a single by Strawberry back in the 4th. They're 3rd in the ball game. Herr had a base hit in the 1st.
Darrell Boston now the batter. 1 out. Jeffries at 2nd. And a check on that finds that Dave Magadan did have a triple in Philadelphia last weekend against DeJesus. So now 2 extra base hits against DeJesus in this, what, 24 and a 3rd innings. 1-1 to Boston. Joe Baver is the right-hander in the Phillies bullpen, and Don Carmen the left-hander. Mackey Sasser on deck. Slider is just high. 2 balls and a strike. Mets trail 6-1. Phillies with 2 spots in the 2nd, 4th, and 7th. Still 2-2 to Boston. Folks, it's the bottom of the 7th, and a lucky fan could win $100 and a chance for a $10,000 bonus from Budweiser as the designated Bud batter. Stay tuned for Kiner's Corner for details. We'll have a Kiner's Corner this afternoon following the game. Inside and low, ball 3, 3-2. Dan Schatzeder up for the Mets. We'll do it again. Still 3-2 to Boston. Speaking of Boston, the Red Sox have scored in the top of the 4th at Chicago. It's now the White Sox 2-1 over the Red Sox. Baltimore and Toronto later on this afternoon. Red Sox 2 games in front of the Blue Jays in the American League East. Fastball gets Boston. 5 strikeouts, make that 6 strikeouts now for DeJesus. And there are 2 outs here in the 7th. Jeffries remains at 2nd base.
Montreal has come up with 2 more runs in the bottom of the 7th. They lead Pittsburgh 4-1, and that's the reaction by the crowd on an error. 2 runs on an error.
So international goodwill displayed on the part of the Expos. Mets fans here at Shea reciprocating as Sasser grounds towards 2nd. Morandini throws him out. The Mets bats have been quiet. It's 6-1 New York after 7, and we're back after this from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Ron Darling still out there. He's worked 2 innings. He has given up 2 runs. Actually pitched well to his first 5 batters, retiring all 5, and then with 2 outs, Booker singled, Hayes doubled, and Murphy singled in the 7th to play 2 runs for the Phillies. Here's Darren Daulton leading off the 8th inning. Strike 1. Johnson can't make the play, so Daulton has a hit, an infield hit. That's the 11th hit by the Phillies, and that'll bring up Dave Hollins.
For the ball game today, as you look at this play by Johnson, he loses control of the ball and scored a base hit, an infield hit. Mets honored all their Doubleday Award winners in their minor league system. It was an impressive ceremony. Future major league players.
This one hit deep to right field. Back is Strawberry looking up, and this ball is gone. Dave Hollins, with his 5th home run of the year, gives the Phillies an 8-1 lead.
Darling giving up his 19th home run of the year. David Cohn earlier in the ball game giving up a 2-run home run to Dalton, and that was his 19th that he had thrown. So they're tied for the club lead, and Hollins with a big home run, his 5th of the year. 3 of them have come as a pinch hitter. And the Phillies now leading 8-1 as Bud Harrelson comes out to make a double switch. No doubt about this one. Strawberry takes a look and says it's gone. 2nd home run in the game for Philadelphia. They're 94th and 95th of the year, and Bud Harrelson out to the mound.
So a double switch is being made. And this call to the bullpen is brought to you by New York Telephone, who reminds you that we're all connected.
Well, the Mets honored out here today for their minor league years, and the ceremony is conducted prior to the start of the ball game. Kevin Torvey, who's been with the Mets, was the honoree from Tidewater. Anthony Young from Jackson. Nico Riesgo from St. Lucie. Tim Howard from Columbia. Alberto Navarro from Columbia. Jerome Burnitz from Pittsfield. Aaron Ledesma from Kingsport. Omar Garcia from Kingsport, and Jerome Tolliver from Gulf Coast, all honored out here today on their way, hopefully, to outstanding major league career.
Here's Eddie Wade. Eddie Wade with the Philadelphia Phillies, and the reason that he was there is because Nico Riesco was traded to the Phillies in the Tommy Hurd deal. So Riesco, if he's going to make it to the big leagues, probably won't make it as a member of the Mets farm system. Dan Schatzeder out there, he'll bat 8th, and Todd Hundley in as the catcher as Mickey Morandini takes strike 1. There's Hundley. Todd's first appearance in a while. 8-1, Phillies on top. It's 0-2 to Morandini, who is 1 for 3 on the afternoon. Inside, ball 1, 1-2 to Mickey Morandini. tell you, the Expos may not make it. It may be too little too late. But over the weekend, if they win today and they're leading 4-1 in the 8th, they will have picked up 3 games on the Pirates and 2 games on the Mets. As Johnson throws out Morandini, 1 out here in the 8th.
And checking out the Nissan American League scoreboard, Detroit leading the Yankees 5-2 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Baltimore against Toronto in Toronto later. That's a night game there. It's Chicago 2, Boston 1, bottom of the 4th. Cleveland 4, Kansas City 4, bottom of the 3rd. Milwaukee 3, Texas nothing, top of the 2nd. Later, Minnesota against Oakland, Seattle against California. Boston with a 2-game lead over Toronto.
DeJesus has a base hit, only his 3rd hit of the year. For the Phillies, that's hit number 13 on the afternoon.
Four deuces for the Philadelphia Phillies. They've scored 2 in the 2nd, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 7th. They have 2 in here in the 8th inning. So the crooked letters outnumbering the picket letters, the picket fence letters, as Philadelphia has 8 runs on 13 hits. Mets have had only 3 hits in the game off DeJesus.
It'll be Dykstra now, who is 0 for 4 on the afternoon. So his average has dropped to .332 on the afternoon. Inside from Schatzeder, ball 1. I would imagine Lenny will be more anxious in this at bat, figuring that a walk, all he does is tread water.
He has to salvage this day if he's going to stay in this batting race.
1-1 to Dykstra.
He's got a tough road ahead of him. He has to average more than 1 hit a game for the rest of the season.
By Hundley, and DeJesus will go to second base. So a wild pitch from Schatzeder, and it's 2 balls and a strike to Dykstra.
This one gets away from Hundley, who didn't shift over in front of it. Probably didn't have time to.
Probably not loose enough.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool day at that.
Just entered the game, and the double switch made by Buddy Harrelson. Lined sharply and by Johnson. Boston coming up with it quickly, and DeJesus held at 3rd base. So Dykstra does indeed have his first hit of the afternoon. He's 1 for 5. Scoring recap. The Mets actually in front of the Phillies after 1 inning. They scored in the 1st, but then a 2-run homer by Dalton off David Cone, the starter. And it was 2-1 Phillies. Then in the 4th, another triple by Kruk, a single by Dalton. Kruk driving in a run with that triple, by the way. It was 4-1 Phillies, then 6-1 after an RBI double by Hayes, a single by Murphy in the 7th off Ron Darling. And then here in the 8th inning, a 2-run homer by Dave Hollins, driving in Darren Dalton, who had an infield hit, and it's 8-1. Phillies on top, runners at 1st and 3rd and 1 out, and it's 1-1 to Rod Booker, who is 2 for 4. He's played a good ball game. You're watching Mets Baseball 90 on Universal 9 WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Tim McCarver along with Ralph Kiner. Inside, ball 2, 2-1. Now Montreal has changed pitchers in the top of the 8th inning. Grounder to short, could be 2 to her, over to Magadan. So the Mets record their first double play of the afternoon, but the Phillies strike for 2 more on 4 base hits. They strand 1 after 7.5, 8-1 Philadelphia, and we're back after this from Budweiser. Bottom of the 8th inning, 8-1, Philadelphia. Been a dreary day for the Mets. Cloudy and cool here at Shea, so the Mets like the weather. Fall has arrived early, 5 days before its official autumnal pronouncement.
Cincinnati with 2 runs scoring, leading the Dodgers 4-2 in that game in the bottom of the 5th.
Todd Hundley leads it off. He was employed in the double switch by Buddy Harrelson in the bottom of the 8th, and he takes ball 1, the fastball high. Inside, ball 2, 2-0. Ball 3, 3-0. Howard Johnson on deck. The Mets trailing 8-1. Pittsburgh still batting in the top of the 8th inning. Steve Fry, the left-hander, is in there for Montreal. Montreal leading 4-1. So now it's the bottom of the 8th inning as the Pirates fail to score in the top of the 8th. So the Pirates 3 outs away from being swept by the Expos after being swept by the Mets. Julio Valero, the right-hander, Jeff Musselman, the left-hander, warming for New York as Howard Johnson steps up. Hojo has scored the only Mets run after a walk in the 1st inning. High, ball 1. Mets with just 3 hits on the afternoon. Ball 2. And Darren Dalton out to talk. I would think that if DeJesus walks Johnson, Mets may see another pitcher.
Even though they have a 7-run lead.
Looks like Roger McDowell warming.
There is no Roger.
Jolly Roger. There's a strike to Johnson, 2-0. Charlie Hayes donning a new hat. Three balls and a strike to Howard Johnson. Strike on the inside corner. 3-2 to Hojo.
DeJesus has been very fortunate in his pitch control. When he gets behind, he's been able to get out of most of his situations that he has pitched into.
Johnson jammed, pops it up left side. Holland's a tough play, and it's Booker who makes the catch in fair territory.
3rd time that Johnson has made an out on the 3-2 pitch, and he walked on the 3-2 pitch. So he's had the count full every time he's been up, and he's not had a base hit.
Had to bring up Tommy Herr. Tommy with an infield hit, a ball that caromed off the glove of Mickey Morandini back in the 1st inning. That led to a Mets run. Ball 1 to Herr.
And Cincinnati now leading 7-2 2 over the Dodgers. They might have saved their season with this game.
Could be.
The Dodgers had won that ball game. They still can. They would be 3.5 games out. Winning the first 2 games of that 3-game series, but now trailing 7-2 in the 3rd game.
2 balls, no strikes to Tommy Herr. 1 out, 1 on here in the 8th. 8-1 Philadelphia. Ball 3. It has been exactly that type of afternoon for Mets fans. That's going to be all for De Jesus. They're 2 on, 1 out. Here comes Nick Leyva. De Jesus, who had pitched 2 complete games, beating the Mets both times on August 7th and September 7th, leaves this ball game ahead 8-1. It'll be Roger McDowell for the Phillies, and we'll be back after this from Nissan.
Well, Roger McDowell on the mound for Philadelphia. Record of 6-7 with 19 saves, an earned run average of 3.84, walking 35, striking out 35, while giving up 77 hits and 77 in the 3rd innings. He was the National League's roll-aid relief pitcher for the month of April and May, in spite of having an earned run average of 5.40. He was 1-0 in May with 6 saves, and in April he was 1-0 with 6 saves. So he had 2 wins and 12 saves the first 2 months of the year, and still with an earned run average of 5.40. Really a strange year for Roger.
To the point where Nick Leyva put in Darrell Ackerfells as the #1 short reliever earlier in the year. Dave Magadan facing Roger. Magadan hitless. This one by Dalton. Hundley will go to 3rd. And the Phillies, with their 2nd pass ball of the afternoon, they entered today's play last, actually 1st in the National League with the fewest pass balls. That one was their 9th of the year.
Ball off the glove of Dalton. The Mets have runners now at 2nd and 3rd in scoring position with 1 man out.
But they trail 8-1 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Ball and no strikes to Magadan, who's 0 for 3. Fly ball left field that could score a run. Von Hayes makes the play. The throw home. Hundley makes it barely. So they're going to appeal at 3rd base to see if Hundley left too soon. Doubtful that he did, but we'll see. 3rd base umpire Steve Ripley says no. So it's official. It's 8-2 now. Phillies on top, and that'll bring up Strawberry.
Right here, the throw home as Hundley is sent on in by the 3rd base coach Chuck Hiller. Dalton giving the old decoy play like there's no play at home. Probably able to beat the attempted tag.
RBI number 57 on the year for Dave Magadan. And Strawberry 1 for 3. This is a dangerous spot for any pitcher, but especially for Darrell. You have to throw strikes. You don't want to walk a hitter with an 8-2 lead. So chances of Strawberry hitting one hard go up. Outside, ball 1, 1-1. Kevin McReynolds on deck. Darrell had stepped out. McDowell was looking at her at second, and when he came home, he almost threw the ball at Gary Darling backing out of there. He didn't want any part of it. Slider misses. 2 balls and a strike. So look for the sinker here. Ball out of the strike zone. 2-2 to Strawberry. Outfield, of course, very deep. Dykstra shade to pull in center. Murphy almost on the warning track in right. Lined up the middle, base hit. Herr's going to come around to score, and it's now the Phillies 8 and the Mets 3. RBI number 101 for Strawberry.
Well, Darrell now with 2 of the 4 hits the Mets have. Both of them singles up the middle. And the throw going in the second.
2 singles up the middle yesterday.
Darrell 4 for 12 in this series against the Phillies.
McReynolds looking for his first hit. Way outside, ball 1.
Kevin 0 for 8 in the series.
0 for his last 15, as a matter of fact. One and 1 to McReynolds. Greg Jeffries on deck. Fly ball deep to center. Dykstra over, and he makes the catch. Mets do score 2. On only 1 hit, they strand Strawberry. It's Phillies on top, 8-3 after 8. We'll be back after this from Express Mail. We're in the top of the 9th inning here at Shea Stadium. The New York Mets trailing the Philadelphia Phillies 8-3. The Phillies threatening to beat the Mets 2 out of 3 in 2 consecutive weekends. Pirates are losing their game 4-1, but Pittsburgh still batting in the top of the 9th up in Montreal as Von Hayes steps in and takes strike 1. Hayes with a single, a double, a run scored, and an RBI. Good curveball from Schatzeder, the 4th Met pitcher on the afternoon. 0-2 to Hayes. Yep, Hayes went too far. First strikeout for Dan Schatzeder, and that'll bring up Dale Murphy.
Right fielder, Dale Murphy.
Cone, Ojeda, Darling, and now Schatzeder for the Mets. De Jesus and McDowell for the Phillies. It's 8-3 Philadelphia. Dale Murphy 1 for 2, 2 walks, an RBI, and a run scored. no strikes to Murphy. Strike one.
Murphy, good series against the Mets. 2 home runs, 5 base hits.
Ball 2, 2-1 to Dale.
He now has hit in 9 straight ball games, hitting over 400. He's had 31 home runs in his major league career against the Mets. 2 of them as a Philly.
This one hit deep to center. Back is Boston, but he's there, and he makes the catch. 2 outs now in the 9th, and John Kruk coming up. Schatzeder was in Friday night's ball game. He worked 2/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit and no runs. He got a no decision in that Met loss. Strike or make that a fastball inside to Kruk. Ball 1. Fly ball deep to left. McReynolds turned the wrong way, and now he gets under it to make the catch. So the Phillies go in order for the first time since the first inning. Actually, one other time when Darling was in there. They lead 8-3. Last chance for the Mets, a final in Montreal. So technically, I guess you could say the Mets are tied for first place right now.
They are.
However, they trail by 8-3 with only 3 outs left to catch up. And we'll see if they work a miracle after this from Nike. Greg Jeffries leads it off in the bottom of the 9th. The Mets trailing by 5. Fastball from McDowell in relief of Jose De Jesus.
Technically, the Mets are in first place by 1 percentage point, but they're 3 outs away from being half a game out.
2-0 to Jeffries. You remember last year, the last time these two teams faced, Jeffries and McDowell had that fight as Jeffries made the last out of the ball game. Strike 1 to Greg. That was last year, last week of the season. Here it is, McDowell again facing the Mets, possibly for the last time this season. To end the game. It's 2-2 to Jeffries. Obviously, it'll be the last time since it's the last time these two teams meet. Slider grounded foul. Still 2-2. Greg 1 for 2. He did have a double in the 7th inning. Entered the game batting .284. No heroics offensively for the Mets today. Just inside. 3-2 to Greg Jeffries. 44,813 paid and 46,122 total in the park as Jeffries fouls another one hard down the right field line. Still 3-2. Sharply foul again. So Jeffries hitting it hard, but wrong windage. Darryl Boston on deck. This will be the last day the Phillies can spoil anything. They do not face the Pirates For the Mets again, the slider gets Jeffries. Jeffries gave up on it. He thought it was outside. First strikeout for McDowell.
Say, did you know that every time a Mets player steals a base, you could win a new 1990 Nissan 300ZX? Just go to your participating Nissan dealer and enter the Nissan stolen base game. No purchase is necessary. You must be 18 years old and a licensed driver to play. Our player today, Christine Brown from Fishkill, New York, and Mets did not have a stolen base, so better luck next time.
Strike one to Boston. Phillies do, however, have 6 games remaining against the Montreal Expos. So while they don't play the Pirates or the Mets, the Expos now, after this game, are going to be 5.5 out. The Mets will be a half game, of course. The Pirates in first place. So the Expos still with a fighting chance. And Tom O'Malley comes up to be the pinch hitter for Dan Schatzeder. One of those home runs to win a game for the Mets against Dale Mahorsik of the Montreal Expos back in June. Strike one to O'Malley. Kelvin Torvey on deck to pinch hit for Hundley. Should O'Malley get on, it gets on. 1-1 to Tom O'Malley. 8-3 Philadelphia. Winding it down are the Mets and the Phillies for the 1990 season. Grounded sharply, and probably the best fielding pitcher in the National League, appropriately making the final out, as McDowell does not earn a save today, but Jose De Jesus earns not only his 6th victory of the year, his record now 6-7, but his 3rd win, and I mean impressive win, over the New York Mets. The Phillies win it 8-3. The Mets 10-8 on the season against the Phillies. 5th time in the last 6 years that they have won the season series against Philadelphia. But they failed to pick up ground on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh losing to Montreal, and Pittsburgh still in first place. The Mets a half a game back, and the Expos 5.5 back. We'll be back with a further wrap-up. Kiner's Corner to follow after this from Budweiser.